Hey guys, I'm not the type of person who needs everybody to agree with me. There's a certain something to be said about needing validation from everyone around you. At the same time, however, I wonder how some decisions are made. For instance, at my college, you will see a lot of teachers or staff have on their doors or on the inside of the windows of their offices it's like a triangle in rainbow colors that says LGBT Alliance. And on one of those doors there's also a little sign of Donald Trump with the word disobey, and then Donald Trump is wearing Mickey Mouse ears. And apparently that represents him being childish, or that he's from Disney, Florida, where he had a bunch of rallies. Disney, Florida is not a thing as far as I'm aware. But they're talking about Disney World, Disneyland in Florida, I guess. Which, I always forget which is which. I honestly don't care that much. Yeah, actually, I don't care. But, anyways, the thing that I find, just strange about that, besides the fact that Disney and Disney executives are, mostly leftist. So, if they could, Bob Iger would have Mickey Mouse sprouting leftist talking points. So depicting Trump as Mickey Mouse kind of undermines, I think, their whole point. Because again, Disney right now is a very leftist company. And Trump used to be a Democrat. In fact, a lot of his positions he has now are the positions Democrats had back in the 90s. You can find, hell, even back in the aughts, in the 10s. You can find videos of Kamala Harris and not Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all sprouting the same talking points that Trump does now about immigrants. That they should all come to the country legally and they should speak English. It really just goes to show that Trump is still a leftist. It's just that the Democrats have gone so far to the left that Trump now looks like he's on the right. And I guess in some ways he's more on the right than they were back then. But his positions have hardly changed over time. I mean, I bet you can find a few clips here or there. What I mean is, Trump's positions now are what the leftists had 10, 20 years ago. All the way up until Trump started to talk about it. And it should be noted that Trump was beloved sprouting these talking points. Or at least publicly agreeing with Democrats by being a Democrat. While the Democrats were sprouting the points that Trump is currently making. Which really just goes to show just how disingenuous all the hate against Trump is. It really just goes to show that the morals on the left are just inconsistent. Whether or not Trump has had the same morals the entire time might be up to debate. But the fact that leftists who agreed with Trump's current points 20 years ago now disagree says a lot. I could make the argument that their policies have changed. They've all grown up. They all switched policies all at the same time, all for different reasons or what have you, which is the big load of bull. The entire party just switched on a dime as soon as Trump started to put out the same talking points that they did. Now, there's reasons why they don't agree with Trump anymore. One, because they have to resist him at any point because they need to prove that they are different than him. They can't admit that they agree with everything he has to say. Now, at the same time, they now want to bring in all these immigrants because, well, the dating scene in America is very difficult. People are not getting together as much. They're having less kids when they do get together. So, over time, we would eventually have a demographics collapse. So they want to bring in more people from the outside to make up for the loss over time. And they do account for the fact that people who come here often have more kids and that the demographics will shift, but if they can get those demographics to always vote Democrat, then they don't care. They don't care that the entire culture of America will change as long as they're the ones in power, as long as they're the ones being voted for. Never mind that the people who will come into America won't want to vote for the current crop of Democrats. They will want to vote for their own crop of Democrats who will change the culture, who won't follow the same morals and standards of current Democrats. But to get back to the point I was making, I do want to know how decisions are made. You'll see a lot of staff at my college who show leftist iconography or leftist slogans. You won't see a lot put up anything that's right-wing. I think I saw maybe one teacher who had something that vaguely resembled right-wing talking points. And again, I can't even remember. It might be something the Democrats agreed with 20 years ago. So it could just be that guy has always been a Democrat and he hasn't changed his opinion like everybody else in the Democrat Party apparently has. Absolutely ridiculous. But at the same time, Trump has been invited to speak on campus several times. And at the other hand, they'll hold like Taylor Swift concerts or like a Taylor Swift event. Or I'm not sure if Taylor Swift actually showed up or not, but they just played her music and it was all about that. Or Taylor Swift is a well-known leftist Democrat who always endorses the Democrat candidate. In fact, last time they were so desperate to get her to endorse Kamala that they were pushing for it because she had previously endorsed Biden. And at least one study afterwards shown that, if anything, her endorsing Kamala convinced people to vote for Trump or to not vote for Kamala for one reason or another, hurting her chances in the long run, which is kind of humorous. And on the other, what was the other point I was going to make? Oh yeah, that's right. Throughout the country, there are a bunch of small communist or socialist parties, left-wing parties. If you look it up, hell, you can even look on Wikipedia. Wikipedia has a left-wing bias, so you would assume that they would have a whole bunch of articles on like white nationalist and white supremacy and like neo-fascist parties in America. And if you look up the parties that actually were able to vote in the 2020, the 2016, and the 2024 election, and you look that up on Wikipedia, you can see all these small-time candidates that were from all these small-time parties. And if you look them up, a lot of them are conservative, small-time, radical parties, like the Conservative Party of New York, for example. Or what was the other ones? There are a few more here or there. But the majority of these small parties are socialist or communist. And in my school, there's bulletin boards. And to post your private event, or even a school, endorsed event that's held on campus, or, not necessarily endorsed by the actual school, but allowed to be held on campus. You have to get, permission from a board, the board of directors, I think, or the deans, to get your event posted on the board. Now, it could just be someone didn't actually go through that process and they posted something on one of the boards and it just never got noticed. But one of those small-time parties posted an event where they were having a meeting about politics on campus. And I took a picture of it. I'm not sure if I remember if I took it down or not. There are bulletin boards all over the campus, but I only found one of those flyers on one of the boards. And I think it was after I'm 99% sure that if I took it, it was after the event was held. But I at the very least took a picture of it. And at the same time, I put stickers all over my campus from the quartering to his website that was trying to get people out to vote against Kamala or to vote for Trump. And I still see some of those stickers around my neighborhood. I always meant to go back to all the places I posted those stickers to see if they're still there. And I wanted to collect them and put them in a notebook as souvenirs. But the places that I normally walk across campus, I haven't seen those stickers. Some of them disappeared and I had to go back and put them up before the election started. Anyways. The fact that, I don't know, maybe again, people took down that party's flyers from all the bulletin boards, and they happened to just miss one. And they did the same with all my stickers. I don't know. It seems like the campus tries to be neutral, but the actual staff itself is leftist. Or at very least, the people on the right aren't willing or are afraid to, either are afraid to or just don't want to post their beliefs all over the place. It's really fascinating stuff, actually. By the way, that party isn't actually able to vote in Michigan. I think only the Workers' Party is allowed to vote in this area. And it's centered in Detroit. I think they have an office in Detroit. And I don't remember if they actually put up a candidate last time. So I think they usually do. They usually put up their own candidate. They don't endorse the Democrat. But I don't recall them putting up their own candidate this time around. Because only 5 states in the country have the Workers' Party as a voting party. Maybe they endorsed Kamala this time. Not that it helped them. Kamala still lost Michigan. And they had people on campus putting up signs for Robert F. Kennedy. And they were having people sign petitions as well. And I'm pretty sure those petitions were also for Kennedy. And Michigan forced Kennedy to stay on the ballot because they hoped that he would take votes away from Trump since he was running on Trump's cabinet. Whereas before, they were all trying to get him off the ballot because they thought that he was going to take votes away from Kamala. But as soon as he endorsed Trump, they wanted to force him to stay on the ballot. Which really goes to show, like, how Democrats really didn't plan out the election that well. Like, it kind of makes sense. You want to take him off the ballot because he's a leftist and he's a former Democrat. You want to make sure that he doesn't steal votes from your candidate. But then it kind of does make sense that if he's part of Trump's cabinet, that you would try to keep him on the ballot. But the fact that they couldn't get his endorsement, that they couldn't keep him as a Democrat, that they chased him away from the party, and then attempted to keep him off the ballot instead of the entire time they could have been trying to put him on all the ballots, hoping that he would endorse Trump and then therefore he would take away votes for Trump all over the country. Or on the other hand, that they wouldn't try to take him off the ballot at all, thinking that he just wouldn't be that useful, or he wouldn't hurt the Democrats that much. But when they tried to take him off the ballot in every single state, it lowered his chances of winning. Now, he had no chance in hell of winning anyways, but if he got on the ballot in all 50 states, then theoretically he would have a chance. But they tried to pull him off every ballot, which meant that each ballot they successfully pulled him off of, he had access to less and less electoral votes, which lowered his chances of winning. And the lower his chances of winning, the higher the chances he was to drop out. And the higher the chances he was to drop out, the higher the chances he was going to endorse another candidate. So they kind of pushed him into endorsing Trump. And yet they didn't think about that at all. It's kind of funny how decisions are made. I don't get decisions sometimes. Sometimes a decision isn't based on logic, or it's based on wanting to affect the immediate future without looking at the long-term ramifications of an action. Which, looking at Democrats' current actions, seems to be par for the course for them. Because trying to cause as much protest, riots, anger as possible, yeah, it could rally up your base. But the people who don't want their cities shut down, who don't want their cities burned to the ground, who don't want leftists on the street checking their papers to make sure that they're not ICE agents, that tends to piss off regular folk, who then are less likely to support the leftist movement. Because the more problems you cause to the everyday citizen who doesn't necessarily agree or disagree with your policies, the more you tick them off, the more they're going to want to turn against you, to oppose whatever it is that you're supporting. And it seems as time goes on, it becomes more and more likely that the Democrats aren't going to win the midterms, or at the very least, their chances of winning an overwhelming victory get lower and lower, to the point where they're probably, if anything, at most going to win only a small victory. A victory so small that they might not win a majority at all. And if they want a majority, maybe they should stop pissing off regular folk. I don't know. Again, I'm not the one who makes decisions. But I'll leave it at there. Bye, guys.